Welcome to part 3, where we're going to start to work with generators to add some additional levels of detail to this model. The first thing we need to do to work with generators is to go to the texture set settings and to bake some textures to work with inside Substance. I've already baked these texture maps previously to this video, but the process is very simple. So you click Bake Mesh Maps here. For us, we want to bake almost all of these maps except the ID map. I don't have the height, bent normals, or opacity checked. I just have the normal, world space, normal, ambient occlusion, curvature, position, and thickness. I've set the output size to 1K and I've left the rest of the settings as they are. And then just click Bake Selected Textures. And when those textures are baked, you'll see visible in each of these mesh map slots, you will have a new texture that's been applied. And they are visible in this 3D workspace. If we drop down this menu in the middle and we look under mesh maps here, we could look at the ambient occlusion map, for example, and the ambient occlusion is using black and white information to occlude some of the shadowy parts of the model. The curvature map is used to select the edges of the model so we could add details to the edges. There's a thickness as well that's showing the thickness of the model. And these are different things that we can work with the generator. So I'm going to go back to material view and I'm going to add in the first generator that we can use on this leather material. So if I go back into the layers panel and I work on top of this stack that we've started to build here, I'm going to add in a fill by clicking this bucket, and I want this fill to affect just the color and the roughness to start off with. So I'm going to unselect all of these other channels and just keep color and roughness activated. I'm going to right click on this fill layer here and click add generator. So now we have a generator slot applied to this fill, and with this generator here, I want this generator to only apply to color and to roughness. So here again, I'm going to close out height, material, normal, opacity, and emission. In generator, I'm now going to select the first one, which is dirt. So I'll select that we want to work with. And this is the effect that dirt has, and it's actually turned back on these channels. So I'll just turn them off again. So height, metallic, normal, opacity, emission I don't want. And this is showing us now the effect of the dirt generator on the texture. What we want to look at is how we can change this to add in some scratch details, some shinier areas, some rougher areas, and to add again a more of a natural look to this leather. So the grunge amount is something that I could increase. The scale we could look at changing as well. We could look at the edge masking options to see how sharp the edges are on this selection. I think I'll reduce this so it's a bit softer. The dirt level we can bring up and down. So I'll bring this, I think, into the middle. The invert we can look at using depending which way we want this to be applied. Maybe we can invert this and then start to play with some of these levels again. Again, this is just about finding something that feels kind of natural and isn't affecting too much the overall look of the surface. For now, if I leave it at something like this, we can start to blend this over our base color and our roughness as well. So for this first one, for this layer we've created here, I'm just going to rename this dirt. It says dirt under here as well, but now we know what this layer is for. And I'm gonna, under the base color, I have a normal blend set here, and I'm gonna drop this menu down, and this is actually being cut off by my screen recording, but you will see a menu appear, and on that menu, I'm gonna choose multiply as the blend option, and you see now how this black kind of dirt ink is spread across our red base material. And I'm going to reduce the intensity of this multiply by using this 100% value here and reducing this down to maybe 48, a bit lower. And then we're going to look at how this is affecting our roughness channel as well. So I'm going to go to roughness. And this is basically completely overwritten our previous roughness information that is underneath this. So I'm going to look at the base channel, the base color here, and look at editing the roughness channel. So I'll select roughness. And for this, again, the blending is set to normal, and I'm going to open this menu up and look in at the blending options. Again, this is off the screen recording for some reason. I'm going to use add to start with, so linear dodge. And then I'm going to reduce just the intensity of this a little, maybe down to 40, a bit lower. So that this is starting to blend back in with our previous roughness map. I'll look at actually some different blending options. Maybe darken. No, too dark. Overlay. See how overlay works. Use overlay with like a 31% value. And now look at the material again, and we have again some more level of detail added into the roughness and into the color of this jacket now. So if I look at the base color channel as well, we see that there's more detail in the color as well, not just this flat red color. We've added additional layers into that. So that's the first generator. The next one we want to add is called rust, and I'm going to just copy this layer by right clicking and clicking duplicate. I'm going to go to the dirt generator here. I'm going to scroll up and press X to delete this from this layer. I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to add dripping, it's called dripping rust. And again, this is now affecting all of my channels, and I just want it to affect color and roughness, so I'm going to unselect these other channels. And if I want to view the effect of this more accurately, I can look at this in base color, and I can turn this multiply back to normal. And I'm going to just turn this all the way back up as well to 100. So I can see how the black and white values in this are being created, and then we can blend this back down again. Right now there's a rust spread value we can look at to see how far this rust goes. There's a contrast that I'm going to bring down so we get kind of more space between the blacks and the whites. I'm going to increase the drip intensity to make this kind of look a bit more like it's being washed away. The smoothness we could increase a little as well. The sample amount, I'll keep it at 32. And then we can use this random value to change how this is being spread. And I think I'll keep it at something like this for now. I could invert this, but I think it was better how it was before. Yeah. Then we can start to blend this again back over the other channels that we had. So for now, we'll go to base color. I'm going to turn this blend back on to, let's try this time. So we keep some lighter coloration because before we added some darker colors. I'll turn this to screen. I'll really bring this blend down quite a lot, maybe to 2 or 3%. Let's stick to 4. And then I'm going to look at the roughness on this as well and see how this is affecting the roughness channel. And right now it's set to overlay, and I can bring this back up using, again, opening this menu and trying a different blending option. I'm going to look at divide, and then I'm going to reduce the intensity on this divide blend to about 20%, and then look back at the material of this, and now we have again some kind of dirt coloration added to this, a little bit of roughness added to this as well. If this is looking a bit much, if I look at the base color, maybe this is quite intense, this light white that we've added. I'll look at the base color here within this drippy rust layer. I'll rename this rust because we already have one named dirt. Base color is set to screen. What does divide do? Let's try divide. Let's add a bit more definition in, I think. which is quite strong. Divide, inverse divide. Nope. Difference. Let's try difference. All the way down to about 2%. And then let's look back at the material. I think that's fine. Yeah, so we've added quite a nice amount of detail into the surface of this now, and we want to use 2 more generators to add into the wrinkles and into the edge thickness of this. So the first one we're going to do is add in for the wrinkles. So I'm going to click add fill. I'm going to name this fill wrinkles. I want this to affect just the height value of this channel, so I'm going to unselect everything except height. And then under the height, I'm going to go here. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to right click on wrinkle and I'm going to go to add generator. And then under this generator, I'm going to go to inflate shrink wrap, this one on the right hand side. So I've created a fill layer, right click on the fill layer, add generator. With this generator selected, choose the generator slot and choose inflate shrink wrap. It's the black looking material on the right side. And this shrink wrap is currently just affecting the height channel of this material, which is what we want, and we can visualize this if we change the channel that we're viewing to height here. But initially this is kind of set to a very dark value, and the reason that is because our base material, the height map in here, is a black height map. So what we could do is within this first leather details channel, we could add a height. So if I select leather detail 1, I add a height layer into a height channel into this, and I move this up to kind of a mid-gray value. Let's put this to 0.5. I can now see what this shrink wrap wrinkle is adding into my height map. So if I go back into material mode, it might not be immediately obvious, but we can change the intensity of this quite quickly. So if I turn off this wrinkles, this is without the wrinkles and this is with the wrinkles. This is also visible if I look in this menu here at the normal height and mesh map. I can see that this will be added into my normal map as well. So I'm going to look at this again in the material mode, and I'm going to go back to my wrinkles layer that I've created, choose the inflate shrink wrap option, and then we can start to work with some of these different parameters. The first one, it can be wrinkle scale. So if I increase this wrinkle scale, I'll create smaller, tighter wrinkles kind of across the fabric. And then the wrinkle range will make them more sharply pronounced. And if I bring this down, it'll make them a little bit softer. The tightness will, I think, have a similar effect on how sharp these wrinkles are being projected. So this is just, again, working with the parameters to find something that looks natural and looks like a type of wrinkling that we want to work with. I'm going to bring this scale down a bit because it feels quite large, the amount of wrinkles we're getting. And I'll increase the wrinkle range. No, actually, I'll decrease that as well. Until I find something that feels nice. Let's stay here for now, and turning this eye on and off lets us, visualize this effect a little bit better. It's quite intense still, so I'm going to go to the base color and drop this menu down for the base color and look at the height channel. And again, this height channel is now set to 100% intensity. So for this inflate shrink wrap layer, I'm going to take this 100 value and I'm just going to reduce this maybe to about 60. To just have a slightly less intense amount of wrinkle being projected onto the fabric. The next one generator we're going to add is going to be to affect the edge thickness of this this construction of this jacket. So I'm going to add one more fill layer. I'm going to make this affect just the height channel, and by clicking all these other slots and deactivating these channels. Stick to the height channel, then I'm going to right click on this fill layer, choose generator, look under the generator in the top here, and choose UV border select, which is in the bottom row on the kind of the second one. And immediately we'll get this effect, and this is because it's affecting all the channels, and we just want this to affect. For now, we're going to do color and height. So I'm going to turn off roughness, metal, normal, opacity, and emission. And we can see now how we're creating a black and white information to use as a height map. And the first thing I'm going to change is the balance. I'm going to bring this down to push the selection further towards the edges of the jacket. And then I'm going to increase the smoothness slightly and increase the distance very slightly, to kind of select the edges of where there would be thickness in the construction of this jacket. I'll bring the balance down a bit further. And I won't invert because I want the white to be on the edges and the dark section to be in the center. Right now, I want this to kind of finish where the top stitching is. So if I bring this distance out a little, and I bring this smoothness out, it should finish around where the top stitches are being applied, to kind of have a natural feeling for the construction of how these leather pieces would have seam allowances underneath. I'm going to turn off the color channel so I can just see how this affects the height map, and it's very, very sharp, the effect that we're getting here. So I'm going to right click on this generator here and click add filter. And then under this filter, I'm going to select the filter option and click blur. And this will add a blur value to this height map that we're starting to create. So if I increase this blur intensity, this edge will start to get softer and softer. So if I go all the way up, it'll almost completely disappear. And if I go all the way down, it'll become very sharp again. So I'm going to put this to a value of around 0.75. And then I'm going to go to the height channel. So I'm already in the height channel here. And for the UV border distance, I'm just going to select here and I'm going to bring down this value from 100, maybe to about 20, 30. And rotate this light to see how this thickness is visible. So I'm really looking kind of at the color construction here and at the edges to see how this thickness is looking. Maybe I'll increase a little this amount to about 36. And then I can see how this is being projected into my normal map. If I look at my mesh maps here, I go to the single channel, I go to normal, height, and mesh. And we see here that this is quite a high amount of contrast in the normal map. So I'm just going to reduce this a little more, this value to about 24. And look at this again in material mode. And now we've added a nice bit of thickness. If I turn this off, it's quite obvious how much thickness we've added into these seams. And it starts to feel a little bit more real, the way that this jacket is being made. So I'll rename this layer edge thickness. And now we have built up a series of 1, 2, 3, 4 generators using some baked mesh maps in order to create some additional detail that we didn't need to paint by hand, that we can do all through this process of working with generators. So we've created quite a nice material now. The last thing I want to do to finish this off is to add in a color for the top stitching, because now our top stitching is the same color as our jacket. So I'm going to add a fill. I want this to affect just the color, so I'll turn off all these other channels. I'm going to rename this fill stitch color. I'm going to right click on this layer and I'm going to click add black mask. And then I'm going to look in my in my import shelf over here and look for stitches. And I should have here the stitch map that we imported before. So I need to now apply this stitch map to our black mask. And to do that, I'm going to right click on the black mask and I'm going to click add fill. And now we will have this fill option underneath this mask. I'm going to drag the stitch mask into this grayscale slot here. And now you'll see we have just a color being applied to where the stitches are. So that's right click, add black mask, then right click on the black mask, add fill, and then to the fill you want to apply your stitch mask that we exported from Clo in the previous videos to the grayscale slot of this fill here. Now if I go to this stitch color layer and I change this color to, for example, blue, my stitches will become blue, and I now have a control for how I can color the stitches of this. So I'm going to add like a dark brown, I think, to this color of these stitches. Maybe something like this. Make it a bit lighter so it's more visible. And now we've built in a little stitch color control that we can work with as well to add some further detail into this. So at this point we've kind of covered how to create one material, and in the next video we'll create a smart material and apply that smart material to all the other fabrics as well. So for now I'll save, and I'll see you guys in the next video.